Canada's continued failure to address our housing crisis has left us with no choice.
St. Theresa Point First Nation is launching a class action lawsuit against the federal government over what they say is the housing crisis some First Nation communities face. The lawsuit is seeking $5 billion in compensation. According to First Nation leadership, 467 families are in need of housing, with the federal government only providing funding for 22 bedroom units last year.
Canada has long known about these housing realities in St. Theresa Point. But year after year, our needs are swept aside as our people get sick and as our people die.
St. Theresa First Nation is a flying community home to 5,200 people. There are about 646 houses in the community, with First Nation leadership saying about 25 homes should be condemned due to severe decay and rotting. Over half of the homes in the community are in need of repair.
Canada sends us the cheapest materials it can find. These materials are often damaged by the time they are delivered to St. Theresa Point.
In addition to the state of the current housing in the community, St. Theresa First Nation is also dealing with overcrowding. Over 60% live in overcrowded housing.
Can you imagine that? You living in a home with 32 people? I don't think that people can grasp or comprehend what our First Nations people have to endure in First Nation communities.
Usually when you go home, you want to go and rest, but with the overcrowding, there is no place to rest at home.
The lawsuit is not only seeking damages for residents of St. Theresa Point First Nation, but also other First Nations who are experiencing the most severe effects of the housing crisis.
This is about recognizing that Canada must make good on its promises to St. Theresa Point and other First Nations in treaties and any number of times since that it would deliver housing.
The federal government tells City News that they are aware of Monday's press conference and will continue working with First Nations to address housing needs. For those experiencing the housing challenges firsthand, the government's response so far has been far from acceptable.
How many of us have to get sick and die before Canada does something?
In Winnipeg, Djan, City News.